Hello everyone, welcome to Sync Study. In this video series, we'll study important topics for examination in detail. Now, you're in this video, Class 11 Biology, Chapter 2, Origin and Evolution of Life. We are going to discuss Miller-Urey experiment. The Miller-Urey experiment is the experimental verification of Oparin and Haldane theory of biochemical origin of life. This experiment was done in 1953 by Stanley L. Miller and Harold C. Urey. Actually, Urey was a professor and Miller was his student. These two scientists proved chemogeny theory given by Oparin and Haldane concept. Okay, according to chemogeny, elements were in atomic form in the beginning of Earth formation because of extreme temperature. Yes. When temperature was little bit reduced, when temperature became little bit moderate, atoms combined with each other to form molecules. Right. So molecules of inorganic compounds were formed in the beginning. Right. According to chemogeny theory, these inorganic compounds change into organic compounds. Organic compounds were formed from inorganic compounds. So this is the crucial point in chemogeny theory, biochemical theory of origin of life, because according to general understanding, generally living bodies are made up of organic compounds. There are exceptions, of course, okay, and non-living things are made up of inorganic compounds, right? So these organic compounds will eventually form a living cell. From this living cell, life will originate. Okay, so this is the point. So formation of organic compound from inorganic molecule is the crucial point, and this has been proved in this experiment, Miller and Urey experiment. Okay, organic compounds or the organic molecules will be formed from inorganic molecules. Okay, inorganic molecules of ammonia, hydrogen, nitrogen, these were mainly present in the atmosphere. Methane was also present, okay, but methane is organic. And organic compounds like amino acids, purine, pyrimide, and nucleotides are formed, so that these amino acids, purine, pyrimide, and nucleotide will form cell later on, and cell will form life, right? So this has been proved. So according to chemogeny theory, okay, yes, now these chemical reactions were taken place to change from inorganic molecules to organic molecules, from organic molecules to cell, through several chemical processes. Okay, all these chemical reactions were taken place in the primitive atmosphere. Okay, we know the condition of primitive atmosphere. Primitive atmosphere was a hostile atmosphere, means lightning, thunderings were occurring all the time, and UV rays were reaching up to the earth's surface, and volcanic eruptions were taking place. Temperature was very high. Yes, so this kind of environment was there in the primitive atmosphere when these chemical reactions took place. So Miller and Urey tried to make the same kind of environment in their experiment set. Same primitive atmosphere was made in their experiment set, so that these chemical reactions could take place. Okay, so this is the experiment setup. You can see in this experiment setup, two parts are very important: gas chamber and water chamber. Can you see two chambers? Okay, in the gas chamber, primitive atmosphere was made, right? So before they started work in this experiment set, Miller and Urey took out all air from this experiment set through this part. Okay, entire experiment set was made vacuum. After that, this gas chamber was filled with gases like methane, ammonia, hydrogen. Methane, ammonia, hydrogen. The amount of methane is 2 part, ammonia 1 part, hydrogen 2 part. Or you can see here, hydrogen, methane, ammonia 2:2:1. Ammonia is the least amount. You can remember, ammonia is the least amount. Okay, to hydrogen 2 part, methane 2 part, ammonia 1 part. So you have to remember this ratio. So these gases were filled in this ratio inside this gas chamber. Now after this, primitive atmosphere had a lot of water vapor, because the primitive ocean was very hot and large amount of water vapor was present in the atmosphere. So water vapor was made in this water chamber. Water was boiled by applying heat, and the water vapor was made to travel through this pipe and it was collected in the gas chamber. So there is water vapor as well. Okay. Now these gases are present in the gas chamber. Now there is requirement of source of energy for chemical reaction. For source of energy, electrodes were introduced, okay, to copy, lightning and thunder. Okay, electrodes were introduced and electric discharge was introduced. UV rays were introduced. Electric discharge of as high as 75,000 volt was introduced into this gas chamber, right? And temperature was made very high because UV rays were also introduced. So temperature was made as high as 800 degrees Celsius, right? So at this high temperature, this now gases of inorganic molecules are present in this gas chamber. Chemical reaction takes place. Okay, when chemical reaction takes place, products will be formed, and products will be formed in vapor form, gaseous form, because temperature is very high. Okay, now the vapor of this products will be made to pass through this pipe downward, and this vapor will be changed into liquid droplets by passing through this condenser. Can you see this condenser? In this condenser, cold water in, cold water out, so that this part of this root is always made cold. Okay, when vapor passes through this cold part, it changes into liquid droplets, and liquid droplets are collected at this part. Okay, it is called liquid trap. So the products, sample of the products will be collected from this part, right? So this experiment was run for at least a week, 7 days. Okay, but some books say 18 days also, but here in my book it is 7 days. Okay, for a week, experiment was run for a week, right? So at the end of week, when samples were collected in between also, and chemical analysis were done, then these products were found to be formed: glycine, alanine, aspartic. These are simple amino acids, glycine, alanine, aspartic, and besides this, other organic compounds were formed: aldehydes, simple sugars, and ribose. So all these are organic molecules, organic substances. Okay, so this experiment proves that organic molecules can be formed from inorganic molecules, so that the living cell was made from organic compounds. Okay, so this experiment proves Miller and Urey experiment. This topic is important for 5 marks question.